Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, The Coding Hub. In this part 4 of our CAPM series, we will learn about aspects. So, what are aspects? Before learning aspects, let's see what is our current problem and how aspect solves it. Imagine you are building a large application and you have so many entities and entities having so many fields in them. Now, to properly arrange them, it's a very difficult task. How aspects help us? So what aspects will do, it will separate out our security code, our backend code, and some reusable code so that finally our entity become more readable and manageable. Now let's go to the IDE and let's learn about aspects. So let's create a new project. Let me select cap project. Let's name them the coding arc store. We will keep everything else as default and let's continue. Now let's go to our DB folder and create our first entity. Let's name as book.cds. So first, let's define our namespace. So our namespace will be the coding arc.bookshop. Now we can define our entity book and let's have title for the book. Let's have a price for the book. Let's keep integer for now. Also, I don't want to manage the primary keys and administrative fields. So what I'll do, I'll use manage and CUID. So I need to call the namespace, call managed and CUID from CDS commons. Now I need to implement the managed and CUID. Now let's see what errors it says. It says there is a mismatch and it is expecting some symbols. So let's see where are my issues. So it says manage CUID from commons, then entity to book. Okay. In order to declare the namespace, we need to put this symbol. Yeah. So this manage and CUID are nothing but the aspects we are using. Now this we have been using our whole time and we even don't know it's an aspect. Now let's create our own aspects and try to use it. For that, what I'll do, I'll create one more entity called additional fields.cds. Now let me declare the namespace. The namespace will be decoding arc.bookshop. Now what I'll do, I'll declare an aspect. I'll name the aspects as author details, and let's say first I'll have author name of type string. Next, let's have author address, and let's keep it string. Now, what we can do, we can extend our book CDS with our additional field CDS. I'll show you both the ways how you can use named aspects and unnamed aspects. So first, let me rename this. Yeah. Now, if I need to extend my book with this aspect, first I need to import my book entities. So I'll use using something from in our same directory books.cds, and then the framework will suggest that I have an entity called book, and let me alias it as book. Now, what I can type, I can write extend book with my author details. So what it does, it will take my book entity and add author name and address to my entity. Now, let me show you an example of named aspect. What is one more way of using this aspect? So let's say with book, I have one more entity called magazine. Now, first let me declare the namespace, and namespace, let me put the coding arc that bookshop. Now, what I can do, let's say, okay, let let's say, okay, first of all, let me use managed and CUID from at the rate SAP CDS comments. Next, let me import our author details from our same directory additional fields. You can see I already have an author details. Let me alias it with author. Now what I can do, I can declare an entity. Let's name my entity as magazine. Now I will declare all my aspects. So first is managed, next is UID, next is author. Now by default, my magazine will have author name and author address. Let's say my magazine also have a mag name as string and mag address as string. Now there is one more way. Let's say I have one more entity. Let's name it as novel.cds. Now here what we can do, instead of doing named aspect, we can do unnamed aspects. How? Let me show you. Let's declare the namespace, decoding arc that bookshop. Now I can say entity novel. Let's say it already has a novel name, type string. Now I want to extend this. What I can do, I can write extend novel with. Now instead of giving the name of my aspect, which I obviously don't have. What I can do, I can directly extend it with, let's say, novel author name. Let's give it a type of string. Yeah. Now my novel will have a additional field, novel author name. Now enough about aspects. Let's try to see a practical by creating a service, and then let's see how it works. And then later in this video, we will also see how for all of these models, we can create security rules and then UI5 elements. So let's head over to service. Let's create book service.cds. Let's declare the namespace, the coding arc, that bookshop. Now I'm creating service for my book. Hence, I need to call the namespace, which has my book entity from now. I will use double period and then slash. Why? Because in Linux, single slash single period means you are looking into the same directory, while double period means you move up to a directory and then you are going inside a different folder, DB, and then you are going inside my book CDS entity. Now let's see what frameworks finds. It finds my book. Let me alias it with book. Now I'll create my service. Let's do shift enter and let's name my service as book service. Then I need to expose my entity. So let's say I'm putting the name of my entity as book as projection on book. Now my book services are defined. Let's try to make a call and let's see how it works. So I'll just create a new file called request.http. Let me put a comment that first I am writing this network call to get books. Now let's make a network call. So we'll write get and then let's put a URL. But let's see how our URL look like in CDS Watch. So let me head over to terminal and I'll do CDS Watch. Now let's wait. Okay, it says no model found in DB and apps and app stack. Okay, you noticed I'm in wrong directory. So what I'll do cd dot. It will take me to the previous directory and then I'll do ls. It will give me all my directories that I currently have. Now I need to do change directory to the directory which I'm looking for, the coding art store. Now let's clear the terminal and let's do cds watch. Yeah, this time my service loaded successfully. Let me head over to the link. Let me head over to books. Yeah. So now I know that it is configured in my local host and this is the call I need to make. Okay, let's write a network call to get. So we'll write get and then we will head over to HTTP. Then we'll go to our local host. Then we'll go to our port. Then we'll write to data call to my v4 service and then let's check what CDS watch gives us. It says it's under our book and books. Now let's try to make the call. Yeah, now we have a call where we have no values because we don't have any entry in our get call. Now let's try to write one post call. Now I'll write post to http localhost to port 4004 to data v4 to my book and books entity. Now here I need to define my content type, which is applications slash JSON. Now with a space, we'll write our JSON here. So first we need to provide a title to our book. Let's see, CAPM beginners. Now let's properly write our JSON. Now let's head over to our books entity. Next we have price. I'll pass the price. Let's put the price as 150. Now let's try and put this. Okay, it says a JSON error, obviously. A JSON don't expect a semicolon, it expects a comma. Now let me try to post it. Yeah, it's posted and the unique ID is generated by the framework as well as created by, created at, modified at, and modified by. Now you also see I also get author name and author address. Why? Because if you notice our book entity and then our additional field, our books is extended with author details and author details have author name and author address. Same we see in our network call. So now let's so now let's look over how we can use our Fury elements and secure. Okay, let's create a new auth file. Let's name it auth.cds. Let me put it in my left window and close these tabs. Now, first let's declare the namespace, decoding arc.bookshop. Now, first we need to find a way to access our service. So I'll do using book service from, since book services is in my same directory, so I will, since book service is in my same directory, I'll do period slash and then I'll get my book service and then let's see what frameworks gives us. Yeah, frameworks recognizes that we have a bookshop and a book service. So let me take this and let me alias this at book service. Now we need to use the keywords annotate. So what I'll do annotate my book service with restrict. Now, what it does is it will allow me to write a block of code from which we can tell the framework when to grant access for reading, deleting, and creating. So let's put a auth over our read access. So what I'll say, I provide access to read, but when and to whom? I provide read access whoever is authenticated. Let me save this file, and then what I'll do is I'll go to my HTTP call. I'll again try to send a GET request. Sure enough, we got unauthorized. Now let me try to add a Fury file now. Let me name it as fury.cds. But let's declare the namespace, the coding arc dot bookshop. Now what I will do, it needs my book service. So let me fetch it from same directory, and then from the framework, let it find my books, and I'll alias it as book service. Now we need to write annotate my book service with with UI element. Now inside my UI element, what I'll do, I'll make selection fields, and in my selection fields, I'll have ID and I'll have, let's say, title. Now along with selection field, I'll have line item, and then in my line items, I'll have value for ID, I'll have value for price, and let's say finally I'll have value for, let's say, author name. Okay, now let me try again with a get call, and we get a successful response. Now what we will do, we'll go to our Fury preview. Yeah, as we can see, we have put selection fields as ID and title. So we got as ID and title. Next, we have put ID, price, and author name. We also got our ID, our price, and our author name. So this is what I explained you about our named aspects, and we also saw about unnamed aspects. Next, we saw authorization using the restrict annotation, but CAP supports out of the box using requires and annotate, and but CAP supports out of the box authorization using requires and restricts. However, putting them directly into your schema defeats the purpose of how we are segregating our modules to make our code cleaner. So by using our aspects, we can define our authorization separately, our UI separately, and this makes the whole thing modular. Now, this is what I showed you. Now, similarly, we have also demonstrated how we can separate out the Fiori UI file from the entity file. And we also seen an example where we put selection fields and line item fields. Now, here is an example, and I'll make sure I'll upload my PDF in my video description. So thank you guys. We'll meet in part 5 of our CAPM video series.